Alright guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the best combos you can get for the Specialist Gloves of Lieutenant Commander and build a full loadout and inventory around them. They're a very unique and slightly awkward pair of gloves, but I think you can cook with them. So, for ours, I'm going to be pricing them at minimal wear, which comes in at $430. It has a bit of a rise with everything going on at the minute, so that is what it is. Now, knife combinations, because there's technically like 3, maybe even 4 types of colors on these gloves, you have a lot of options. My go-to that I've always liked is the lower. That's because I personally like the lower knife a little bit. And the bayonet will cost you $580. Of course, you could go higher or lower than that if you wanted. But the green handle doesn't clash too much with things going on. It's got the yellowy gold into the yellow accents. What else could you look at? And as we get into this, it's worth noting that we are using Lieutenant Commander Ricksaw because Lieutenant Commander's in his name, and that, obviously, name of the gloves has that as well. Plus, he is sleeveless, so there's no clash. The other option you could look at, or one of the other options, would be a Safari Mesh. Normally not my go-to knife, but if you got an Ursus Safari Mesh, keep in mind these are pattern-based, so you can shift the colours around a little bit on them. But they pair with this kind of like greyish-greenish colour that you get on the gloves, and surprisingly look alright. What I spotted people chatting about was the Talon Stained, and this one surprised me. The stained sort of colour effect isn't too far off that really odd light pale blue that you have on the inside of the gloves, and obviously the ivory handle then goes with whatever colour that is on the inside of the gloves as accent colour. So this one's a bit more pricey at $475, however still cheaper than that bayonet lower. And I've got a slight sort of bonus to throw into the mix. It's a classic vanilla. This is $340. I just sort of added it in the moment because I like that pattern effect it gets with the pattern on the top of the gloves, and that vanilla colour isn't too far off some of what we have going on with the gloves themselves. Now, the weapon skins is where things can get quite interesting. We have the lead conduit for the USP. Now, the reason I've suggested this is because I think the bottom half of the skin, however you don't see it in idle, pairs fairly well, and it's $1.35. The closest thing, or the next closest thing, would be like a jawbreaker, which just doesn't quite work. And because there is really a mix of different colours going on, I went with the Forest Knife for the P250 for 79 cents because, I'm not inspecting because of this, it pairs in with that kind of like watery pattern you see on the top of the gloves, and then that colour in the inside of the gloves isn't too far off. And you guys know I'm getting creative when I'm finally suggesting the Golden Koi. Like, I hear how this looks in CS2 compared to CSGO, but when it's with these gloves, that sort of like weird, I'm going to call it like a tanny beige colour that's on the gloves, it actually pairs in fairly well with the Golden Koi. Now, you're spending $133. I know a lot of people used to love this. It's less popular these days, but you do get what used to be like a really high-tier deal. And then we're going to have back-to-back Contractor. Now, these are surprisingly quite good with them because that green isn't too far off, sort of greeny. And it is like some people call it a greeny colour on the thumb. You guys can argue in the comments what colour you think that is. But the tan colours pair in, and then that greeny colour pairs somewhat well for 2 cents in minimal wear. The 5.7 version is a bit more pricey. You will have to get it in souvenir, but $1.91 for minimal wear for a skin that has tones that pair super well with the gloves is pretty solid. Over in the MP9, I decided to go for a Battle Scarred Starlight Protector. Now, in hindsight, maybe I've generated a code that's a little bit too high, but I thought minimum wear factory it was too white for gloves that don't really have any white on them, so I was trying to get it to go as close to this sort of tanny beige as I could. It's not often I would show 2 MP7 options, but here we go. The first one is the Short Orcher, I think that's pronounced. 7 cent minimal wear, newly added in with the Radiant Collection. The main colour of the skin pairs so well with the gloves. And if you happen to be a bit of an MP7 demon, you want to spend some money, for roughly $5.50 for the olive plate. All these prices are from the 5th of May, by the way, and this is dreadful for getting good pricing for it. I ended up going with Steam pricing at the time for it. Some easier to price options would be the likes of the UMP Corporal. This is 71 cents in minimal wear. It has 2 colours on it that are pairing really well with the gloves, so we'll always take that when they come in under $1. The XM had like 4 options. I decided to go for the Irizumi because I think for 14 cents minimum wear, it was the best overall option for like value for money and good pairing. Some of the others were like $4 or $5 for lackluster skins. And surprisingly, I found a use case for the new Resupply Mag 7. It's 10 cent minimal wear. Lots of people overlook it, but that sort of greeny pairing is there, and then it's got yellow text on it. We got yellow accents on the gloves. Like this one, I've struggled with. The A1S was a really tough suggestion. I have seen people rocking the Moss Quartz with it, so I decided just to go down that path, and that's what we have. It is $69 now in Factory New, which is kind of wild for what this skin is, but $69 will get you a Moss Quartz. I can kind of see where they're coming from. For it's not too dissimilar to that thumb color, but there's still a difference. And I have 2 M4A4s. I'm pricing the most expensive one, so that means at the end, you know, you can price down. The most expensive is the IF Horus. This is $376. in minimal wear. I liked that this was this kind of like off-white color, so I thought maybe it would pair in with those sort of tanny beige elements that we have, and then it does have gold and we got yellow, so not too dissimilar. What pains me a little bit is that the cheaper alternative is the Battlestar, and it's only $5.90 in minimal wear, and it might actually be the better color pairing, and I detest this skin. So the fact that I'm suggesting it means it must be a combo of some sorts. For the AWP, you can get away with cheap and cheerful with the new Arsenic Spill. Now this is $4 minimal wear at the time of planning. The plus side here is it's lots of sort of black and grey. So while we have so many colours going on with the gloves already, like just so many colours, as you can see, and they play in fairly neutral, and then we got yellow accent colours with that yellow accent on the glove, so that works wonderfully. And as usual, we have a FAMAS and an AUG to end off CT side. For the FAMAS, I went for the Mecha Industries. While the white is not a perfect pairing with the gloves, because it's kind of got this beige color on the bottom of the FAMAS, and that does pair in somewhat with the gloves, and then obviously white is fairly neutral. The only downside is it has red accents, so we're adding yet another color profile into this. And for the AUG, I went for the Tomcat. Real nice surprise that this actually has a pair of gloves it pairs with really well, and it's only 10 cents. Now, as we always get stuck using different variants of like Bloody Darrells, I decided to go for Trapper Aggressor Guerrilla Warfare for the Agent this time, just for that slight change of tone on the skin to offer something a bit different in game. And then for the Glock, I went for the Groundwater, which is $21 minimal wear, which I kind of hate suggesting that, but it does have the color profile pairings, which if you're going for the best combos possible, that's the winner. And on the Tech 9, I decided to go for the remote control. And this was kind of inspired by how well the Battlestar paired with it. I was thinking, you know what, we got a bit of blue, we got a bit of yellow, mixed color palette, really weird. For $2.14, I think it pairs in not too badly. We recently did a Mac 10 value for money tier list. That'll be linked down below if you haven't watched it yet. But I spotted that the Echo and Sands surprisingly wasn't that bad a skin for the 17 cent you pay for it. Has an interesting little like bug on the back of it. And with these gloves, I thought with those tanny patterns again, tanny beige with sand, they all kind of blend in nicely. I do think ultimately the one area I struggled was the PP Bison. I ended up just going for the Harvester for 17 cent minimal wear because it was like the cheapest option that didn't clash, and I thought we could somewhat clean. But if you guys have a better PP Bison suggestion, please let me know. For the P90, I went for the Randy Rush. While the color pairings aren't 100% perfect, for around $1 for minimal wear, and it also has a crazy mix of colors going on with yellow accents, I thought we could kind of combine it in and make it work. Now, I've had lead conduits, I've had contractors, I've had golden koi. Did you expect me to actually suggest a tornado as well for the Gale, which is $7 minimal wear? It has this odd sort of bluish peel color, and then it's got this like sandy color on top that overall pairs in with some of the colors going on the gloves. Now, your main rifle, the one that matters, the AK, you're spending $80. Now, I can't believe this is now $80 on the Elite Museo. It's a very unique skin based on this an abstract artwork piece of Dust 2. Has the chicken, has the T's on it, all that goodness. Because there's so many mixed colors on the gloves, going for an AK that's also kind of as crazy, but the colors blend in well, this is what I ran with. I think this is going to be your AK choice for these gloves for sure. If you think I'm crazy or you don't want to spend that much, you could go get a Phantom Disruptor for, I think, $6. Yeah, $6 minimal wear. It has blue, it's got yellow, also got a bit of black. Overall color profiling, it's not too bad, but I do think the Elite Museo is just a very unique skin that takes the pick for me. I'm taking the benefit of a super cheap Scout from the new Burial collection. It's the green ceramic at 7 cent minimal wear. There was nothing else that really called out for me for a strong pairing. The scope kind of matches some of the colors going on in the gloves, and again, we've got that greenish color that we can claim a little bit. And there was actually a couple of SGs that I could have gone for. I ultimately went for the Phantom for 87 cent in minimal wear because I thought that the bluish color on it paired quite nicely with that blue we get on the inside of the pan, which obviously when you're using it in idle is what you're going to see most of. So, total loadout cost, if you went for the bayonet lower, you'd be looking at $1,746. So basically just under that $1,750 mark, which I always say, especially these days with the price increases, coming under $2K for a loadout where you're trying to get maximum everything, it's not too bad going. If you decided to go for the Ursa Safari Mesh, you really cut budget down. You get down to just under the $1,300 mark. Now, Safari Mesh isn't for everyone, but if you like that knife, you can take a few $100 saving and vibe out. And then, although I love the lower, I think the one that I should be suggesting to you guys would be going for the Talon Stand. Now, it's actually the middle ground of these two, or somewhat middle ground. It's $1,641 for this, if you pick this up with all the rest of the loadout. As mentioned, for $340 you can get a classic vanilla, but that was kind of a spur of the moment spot that I thought worked well. Now, when I started this video, I thought these gloves were going to be a little bit tricky, but ultimately I think we've ended up with a very unique, mind you, it is very unique and it's very sort of 50-50 taste, but I think it looks good overall. You guys can let me know the thoughts in the comments down below. Is there any changes you would make, or do you think I cooked well enough here? Big thank you to YouTube members that continue to support the channel. It's always appreciated, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.